Hi, you found the podcast Aging Gracefully with Julie Roca, and I'm Julie Roca. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I have people from outside of my industry come in and talk about seniors and healthcare and the things that I'm passionate about. But today, I get to have one of my colleagues with me to talk about something I am incredibly passionate about. For the last several years, I've had the opportunity to advocate with the Alzheimer's Association to really kind of beg for our government to pay attention to the caregivers and to kind of give them some relief, some education. And after several years of doing that, we had a great opportunity in our company, and I brought my friend, my colleague, and one of my bosses. I've invited Billie Dodd to come and join us today to talk about the GUIDE program. So welcome, Billie.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do to be a voice for others and just to help people. Knowledge is power, and so I'm just so proud of what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. So Billie, tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get to be in community hospice?
Oh goodness. So I've been a nurse for over 25 years, and I've been a hospice nurse for most of that. Board certified in hospice and palliative care. Early on in my career, I recognized there's a better way at end of life.
Right.
It was just very clear to me that people deserve dignity and respect, and as a lot of our colleagues would say, it's a calling. And so
it absolutely is. I'll never forget the day that I felt the calling. My grandmother had just passed, and up until that point, I always thought that I was going to be, in the beginning of life, a doula or maybe a midwife. And after going through that experience, I knew that I was called to be more focused on the end of life and that quality.
I love that you say that. I've always likened death to birth. It can be so beautiful. And what a privileged time to be with families and really help them find the beauty in the most difficult season of their life.
Yes. And it is.
It's a privilege.
It's definitely a privilege and a calling. But, as we've worked in community hospice, and actually our parent company is Alivia Care at Home, we noticed that even before people qualified for hospice, there is a need, especially in the world of dementia, which I am so passionate about. There's a need for guidance. I've had family members call me crying and saying, I just got this huge diagnosis that my loved one has dementia. Not that they were shocked by it, but it's shocking to hear. And they say, I have no idea what to do. And a lot of them feel so alone and so directionless. So talk to me about what happened a couple of years ago. We were approached. So tell me about that.
So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation recognized the burden on caregivers and the need for supportive care for patients with dementia, but especially their caregivers, because if you don't have a caregiver and you have dementia, that can be a catastrophic situation for families. So the GUIDE program was developed by CMS Medicare for patients with dementia, and it very much involves the support of their caregivers, care coordination. We were the first provider in the area to be selected, and that was such an honor. And we've really had a very successful, high quality service where it's high touch. There's a nurse, nurse practitioner, social worker, doctor oversight, where you have 24/7 access to that care navigation, care coordination.
And that's so important, because when you do get that diagnosis and you have no idea, and a lot of us that go through the dementia journey for the first time, we had no idea. I remember when my grandfather was going through it, I was in a phase in life where we had dial-up, and I would search something on dementia, and I had enough time while the page loaded to go and throw laundry in or get the laundry out and switch it because it took so long. And now though we do have that direction online, man, I can't imagine not having someone to reach out to and say, oh, my loved one did this today. What do I do? I'm seeing this change. What am I supposed to do next? And I think that what I love about this guide program is that it also gives the caregiver that feeling of support. They can call and get that. Now, what about training? Do they get any kind of education?
They absolutely do. The best thing for a caregiver is to prepare them for what's coming.
Yes.
They should never be shocked of a behavior or a situation, and very much proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
We want to empower them to say, oh, I recognize what this is because they've already taught me. And so really being that educational resource for our families and caregivers. And it's so important. In my career, I have had caregivers die before the patient because they stopped going to the doctor. They stopped taking their medications. They're not sleeping. And so really helping them to be a successful caregiver and recognizing their need for respite and renewal to be able to continue the journey.
And I want to talk about that respite piece because to me, that's one of the things that we've screamed about for years. Oftentimes, respite care is brought in by a home care company that is private pay. And we're not talking about, 50 cents an hour or even $15 an hour. We're typically talking somewhere between 30 and 35 an hour. And we're not talking about a 1 hour block in most cases. We're talking about a minimum of 3 or 4 hours in a visit. And some of them have a minimum of 20 hours per week. So when you add that cost up, it really starts to add up. So what I loved about this is something that Medicare is going to provide some respite care. So do you know how much respite care they are providing in a year?
So Medicare is providing for patients that qualify $2,500 a year in respite services. Now, if your loved one has a long-term care policy or is a veteran, those are other resources that can also offset some of the caregiver cost. But under the guide program, Medicare will pay for $2,500 a year so that you can unplug. A dear friend of mine, and I know she won't mind me mentioning her, is going away to St. Augustine this weekend because of the respite she's being provided. And she's 24/7 caring for her loved one with dementia. And so for her own well-being, because of guide, she's able to renew and come back and keep serving her loved one. Which
is just such a huge gift. This is what we have been screaming for years, is to be able to give our caregivers respite. And I think that it's important to know that we at Alivia Care and Community Hospice are not always going to be able to provide that care. We are working with third parties, right?
Absolutely. We have our nurse practitioner will come in and do an on-site visit, an assessment, and really a lot of the teaching, as well as a social work and nurse telephonically. And through, it's the high touch and high tech piece of it.
Yeah.
That's important. But I forgot. I just totally had a brain slip. You got to let me pause.
Third-party vendors. We were talking about the third-party vendors.
So our caregivers are our trusted community partners who provide home care. We contract with them for supportive services. We're very concerned about quality. So we vet our partners. We want to have the highest quality partners for our on-site.
And not only do we vet those partners, but Medicare has also vetted them, from what I understand,
Yes.
right? So they're like double and triple vetted to be able to sit with your loved one.
Absolutely.
And from what I understand, it can be a minimum of 4 hours. And then if we need to layer those hours together, we can.
Right. You could stack to have 8, and potentially even more if it's pre-planned. Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I have loved about hospice is that we do have respite care for hospice, and it can be a number of days. But again, we're talking about people who aren't qualified for hospice.
Right.
What are the qualifications that you need to have in order to qualify for the guide program?
So for guide, an individual should have Medicare as their primary payer, so no Medicare Advantage. They are not living in a nursing facility, and they're not under hospice. So straight Medicare with a dementia diagnosis of any kind, not Medicare Advantage.
And they do have to have that diagnosis.
Yes.
It can't be the family says, I think my loved one has dementia, but we don't want to get that diagnosis because it might hurt their feelings.
Right.
Correct.
So we work very closely with patients' primary care physicians, with their specialists to review records, and then, of course, our provider is also going out and evaluating to look for and report any signs or lack thereof.
Right.
To make sure they have appropriate assignment of the benefit if they're eligible. It's just such an amazing collaborative effort with families, physicians, and our community partners to make this possible, and so long overdue.
So long overdue. Yeah. We've got 580,000 people in the state of Florida living with dementia. So when you consider that each of them have to have at least one caregiver, you consider all the caregivers that can be affected by this.
Exactly.
And it's wonderful.
Just being able to unplug to go to church or their doctor or take a walk or a nap is, we take those things for granted, but people that live with, and for those of you who are caring for loved ones with dementia, you know that there's no clock out. It's 24/7, and you never know what's next. And so I think that the Medicare Centers for Innovation have done a great job with this program, and we're really seeing some good outcomes from Alivia Care at Home with Guide.
Yep. And I am so excited to see what comes next. It is a dream of mine that this is just the beginning, and that, more than just Medicare covers it at some point, and other companies say, this really does benefit. Our goal is not just to keep the person with dementia at home with better quality of life. It's also to really just wrap around that caregiver, give them better quality of life, and help them to stay out of the hospital so that they can give the best quality care.
Yeah, it really reduces unnecessary rehospitalizations because those caregivers have someone to call 24/7 as a resource, and we're able to plug them into additional resources and our community partners to really keep them at home and as healthy as possible for as long as possible with a great quality of life. And that's really what it's all about.
And I'm going to include all kinds of links and phone numbers for people to reach out to us here. But how can they start this process if they say, hey, I think we might qualify for the guide program? What do they need to do to get that started?
So you can visit us at Alivia Care at Home or communityhospice.com under our guide program. Or you can also go to the Center for Medicare, cms.gov, and look for, they'll have a list of providers in your area. I would encourage you to evaluate if your provider for your guide program is local, and whether they provide on-site services.
Or if it's all going to be by telehealth.
By phone. You really want someone who's ingrained in your community and knows the resources.
Exactly.
And the partners.
Yep. And we're happy to do that here in our area. And I know that there are other providers in other areas. So look that up at the Medicare site. But also, do you need a prescription? Do you need for a referral from a doctor to come to get this started?
To contact us to get it started, we can reach out to your provider and through release of records to determine the diagnosis. And what we really want to do is educate the providers within the community. This is such a new program that a lot of providers are just learning about this,
right,
so that they can recommend it to families. But it does require that a physician has made the dementia diagnosis determination. That is required.
Yep, and I do know, I mentioned it earlier, I know that there are some families that are afraid of hurting their loved ones' feelings if they have a dementia diagnosis, but I would encourage you that if you're thinking your loved one may have dementia, go ahead and get that diagnosis. We're in an age where there may be some help for them if they do have that diagnosis. And they got to have the diagnosis to get those things.
Yeah,
so
we do a lot with training providers how to deliver bad news, and it's just part of our mission. And physicians are going to be pretty gentle with how they communicate that to patients and families. But it is required in order to plug into the service that is so helpful. So don't be afraid to reach out and get the help.
Yeah. And we've got a beautiful advantage, I think, because we can also offer palliative care. So palliative care can come alongside and help in what ways?
So our palliative care provider, if you have a loved one with dementia on guide, our palliative care support services can also come in and assess for burdensome symptoms and also support advanced care planning, and just really collaborating with the other specialists and doctors to make sure that everybody is in the loop, that it's a team approach instead of silos to caring for people with dementia.
Exactly. And what I think I love so much about this is that then it's so seamless. The hospice benefit, nobody needs to guess with me if you talk to me for 5 minutes. The hospice benefit is truly one of, I think, the greatest benefits that Medicare, Medicaid offers. And our palliative care team is well aware of when your loved one would qualify for those benefits as well. So they can help to make that very seamless transition when you qualify for those special benefits.
Yeah, so as your loved one declines over time, that education from that nurse practitioner and that team to help you understand what stage they're in their dementia and what their FAST score is and what that means, they really get the benefit of hospice sooner. And at that point, guide would stop, but the respite support that hospice provides is available to them, and an intensive team surrounding that patient and family.
Yeah. And at that point, we come in with all the things, with the durable medical equipment, so hospital beds if it's needed, with, bedside commodes if it's needed. We come in with the social worker that might be needed. Just medications and med management really steps up, and you get a physician that rides over your case that just knows quality of life at the end of life. And I mean, I can go on talking about hospice forever, but so the guide program and our palliative care program work so well hand in hand to work us through those transitions, and then our team can help you to move to the benefit of hospice. And I love that whole seamless approach.
When it's time.
Yep, when it's time.
So it's all about living your best life as long as that's possible.
Yeah.
On your terms, with the right support at the right time. I've never in my hospice career had anyone say, I wish I would have waited. They usually say, I wish we would have called you sooner. And the beauty of non-hospice guide and palliative is you can get that support now with your loved ones who are still getting aggressive therapies and treatments. These services are available to patients with dementia.
Yeah, and so I'm very, very excited about it, because this just really opens up what we can offer to people living with dementia and their caregivers. Well, is there anything else that you really just had on your mind that you wanted to share with us today, Billie? Or have we kind of covered all the bases, you think?
Well, I can talk about all of this
I know.
for a long time. But,
we both can.
I just continue doing what you're doing in the community, and please share this with friends and loved ones that you know are caregiving for someone. It's the hardest unpaid job in the world, and I think America is finally recognizing that it is not just less expensive to support a caregiver, but important.
Yeah.
To have a better quality of life and just a better support system by supporting that caregiver at home than rehospitalizations and ICU stays. And, taking care of that caregiver is part of the solution. And I think we're at the beginning, just like you said.
We're at the beginning, and I am just so excited to see us here. So if you have not yet liked this podcast and you have not subscribed to our channel, I wish that you would. And then please make sure that you share this with others, because I think it's just critical information. Thank you, Billie, for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.